Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of For What It's Nerd. Today, we're going to discuss both the Darth Maul trailer that came out for I forget the name of the actual show, but the Maul show that's coming out, which is bad because I should have maybe prepped notes again. This is what happens a lot with me. And the Masters of the Universe movie, as well as a quick commentary on Wonder Man that is, of course, coming out this coming week. So let's start with. I want to start with He-Man, actually, because, well, I say He-Man, Masters of the Universe, because I don't have much to say on the actual movie itself, because I don't, I'm not a He-Man fan. Not for lack of want, but more that I've never gotten around to doing it. As I so often say with a lot of the franchises, I've maybe had the interest to watch at certain points. I've seen memes, etc., as we all have over the myriad of years. But it's something I've never gotten into. And I will say that this movie may be the point to kind of do that and kind of catch up and maybe watch a bit of He-Man shows. I know there's a few. I think I'd be interested in that because this movie actually looks really colourful, which I think is something that we've kind of lost a lot in more recent media, is that there's not much colour. But this kind of harking back to the 80s vibe in the trailer and the character designs and yes, don't get me wrong, it's that modernized kind of CGI fest a little bit, but I think it's going to be fun. Looks fun. I don't know through the lens of how accurate this is to the source material, so to speak. But it does look fun. The one thing I'll say about this movie that I think is kind of getting people's goats a bit, and it's sort of the same thing that happened with Tron Ares, which didn't really matter to me because I've never really watched the Tron movies either. Wow, big shocker. I feel like I so often come on here and look illiterate, media illiterate, and I am a little bit. I'm trying to do better. I'm trying to watch things. I'm going to have to watch all the Bond movies sometime soon so that I'm ready for 007 First Light, the game. I feel like that's how I kind of explore media now. If a game's coming out that's linked to that universe, suddenly I'm watching all the movies, for example. But yeah, so I think my thing is that or what I'm seeing on social media a lot at the moment, is that people's kind of hook on this movie, going back to Tron Ares, and is that obviously people are a little bit concerned that Jared Leto is in this as Skeletor. Now, I think it's different when an actor that you don't like is the lead, versus being not saying that Skeletor is important, obviously, but I think it's different when they're the main focus, they're the headliner, and then you've got in this one, he's obviously not. Yes, his name is being used to market. Obviously, Skeletor is integral, as I said, but I think the guy playing He-Man and obviously Idris Elba's in this as well, and is it Camila Mendes who's playing what looks like sort of He-Man's one of He-Man's team? Obviously, those, obviously Idris Elba is a very big star, and then as well you've of course got these two kind of not upcoming, because Camila Mendes has been around for a number of years, but maybe not at this scale. So she's obviously there, and then is it Noah Galstein, something like that? I don't know his name. I'm sorry. I'm usually better with these names. But he, I know he's been sort of upcoming, so it's a little bit. It's one of those ones where I think you're probably going to have to watch it if you want to support these kind of actors who are making a little bit more of a breakthrough. Because I think this movie is going to appeal to a wide range of people. And at least we can say that Jared Leto's face is not going to be on screen for this one. That's a win. I'm not a big fan of his work. I didn't love him as the Joker, and I've not watched Morbius, but I could tell that wasn't particularly an experience. Just from the sheer fact it got memed to death, that wasn't a good experience. And then obviously Tron Ares, which again a lot of people didn't want to watch that either because, again, him. But it's the same with that movie. Gillian Anderson was in that movie, one of the best actors we've around at this current moment, and she is like I don't blame her for being in the movie. So I same with these guys. Like if I was going to watch it now, like if Tron Ares, I'm not a fan of the franchise, but if I was going to watch it, I'd be watching it to see, like, again, something like that, Gillian Anderson's performance. I wouldn't be watching it for Jared Leto, but it's harder that way around, because if Gillian Anderson was the main character, then you can say I'm going because Gillian Anderson is the main character. The other way around doesn't work as well. Do you know what I mean? Like for example, Ironheart's a great example. I was just talking about this with Nate from the community a little bit earlier, but it's the same thing with Sacha Baron Cohen being Mephisto in Ironheart. It's like, oh great, cool, Mephisto, and it's someone who hasn't got maybe the ideals that align with mine, to put it nicely. But I still want to watch it because Dominique Thorne's the main actress and is upcoming, and it's the same kind of principle to me. It's like sometimes you've got to kind of swallow that little pill of badness with the good. It's sort of like it makes a world of difference if there's someone who you don't like in a supporting role versus the main role. I think I've beaten that horse a little bit to death, saying that I didn't have anything to talk about with the movie, and then I've talked about Jared Leto for 5 minutes, not 10 minutes, 5 minutes. Yeah, so that's my thoughts on that one. I probably will watch it, and I'm hoping to get some kind of background context before that. So keep an eye out for that episode down the line. Either I'll go in with a fresh perspective and have be someone who just watches it as a movie and tells you that experience, which I think can be good as well, or someone who has watched a little bit of the background material. Who knows? Fingers crossed, I was going to say. You never know. It depends how much time I've got on my hands. And then let's talk about the Maul trailer. Now, I don't really have strong opinions about the Maul trailer. I think I'm going to really enjoy the show. And I think what they showed us was sound. It's the same style we're kind of used to for Star Wars animation, which is getting a little old. But I feel like the thing is, when you change to Rebels animation and you even tried with Resistance animation to do something different, and then people really only want the Clone Wars style, you kind of do just fall back into it. So I don't blame Disney necessarily for that one. I blame us as people. Anyway, aside from that, I think the idea of telling Maul's story on how he got from what we see at the end of the Clone Wars to what we see in Solo in that one part, and then to what we see in Rebels is important. I think that's a very important part of the timeline that we just haven't touched at all, really. So I'm excited to see how that kind of maps out. Obviously interested to see how this seemingly a Padawan that he takes on, how that happens and grows, and what ends up happening with her. Is she essentially Darth Talon in some way? It'd be cool if she was. A lot of people have been sort of intimating that is the case, and of course we know that Talon was thought about being used for The Force Awakens, and we also know that in the Maul game Talon was meant to feature if that had gotten if that had went through, like continued on to being created, let's put it that way. Yes, so I think I'm interested. I am going to say the usual things that people say about Star Wars. We're treading over the same ground. I don't think it's bad in this instance because it's a little bit different. It's you're following what was previously an antagonist, and also it's going to be following sort of the bad guys for a change, which is cool. But yeah, it's still following that same Clone Wars. It's that 20-year gap that they always like to play in. They're playing with that again, and I also think, and this is my point from last week's episode, if you guys remember, that I'm concerned that the first thing that's really going to come out of Disney, and I know this is probably going to come out regardless of when Kathleen Kennedy left, but the first thing to come out of Lucasfilm, as Kathleen leaves and Dave comes in, is basically one of his baby projects. And I don't think that's, I think that's, there's two parts to that. There's a part that's showing the future under Dave is that these shows that you might not necessarily have thought of will come to fruition, which can be interesting in their way. But I think it's also the confirmation of what I said last week, that Dave kind of really likes his pet projects and those have been being pushed. I think, if I'm being completely honest, that internally the change probably happened a while ago regards Dave Filoni and Kathleen Kennedy, and he's been pushing these things a little bit further and a little bit more quickly. And I think that's why we've not had so much news on Star Wars for quite some time, is that the change was already happening and they were gearing up their new strategy. Because, like, you know, this seems very, like, it seemed almost pointed. It's like, Kathleen Kennedy's left, let's drop this. And they dropped the trailer for Maul. So, but I'm interested to see it. It's coming out in April. Obviously, it's gonna be like 2 episodes a week, which I think is actually a decent release schedule, ending on May 4th, I believe. Which is somewhat fitting. Yeah, I'm interested to see what they do with the show. I think despite what I've said, I think it'll be refreshing to see the villain angle. We don't get that enough in Star Wars. I think so many other franchises try and give you a villain perspective. I feel like Star Wars does it and then turns the villain into the good guy. Like, sometimes you just want to follow a bad guy. And I think that's why people kind of really enjoyed the Thrawn books, for example, because Thrawn is, yes, you understand his motives, but he is still ultimately this guy that turns into this nasty piece of work, essentially, because it's what he needs to do to protect his people. But they're showing him as the villain and how he progresses to being the villain, which is kind of the opposite process. But yeah, I'm excited to see where things go with Star Wars, of course. Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. As regards Wonder Man, the best piece of news we could have ever gotten is that Wonder Man is now the highest rated MCU show in both the phase it's in and in the last 5 years. It's at, I believe, 96 the last time I looked, or last time I saw something, which is great. It's really exciting to see that this show has, sorry, I got a little further. This show has exceeded expectations to such a degree that it's at 96. Now, whether or not the general audience agrees is a different story, and of course there will be people, grifters, who try to bring the show down, but I'm really excited. We're going to sit and watch it all on Tuesday, and if I feel strongly enough about it, because I might, we might do a early episode of For What It's Nerd during the week to kind of discuss it. But I hope you guys are excited for Wonder Man. I hope you guys are excited for the other two show, the Maul show and the Masters of the Universe. That's a mouthful, actually. Not a mouthful, but it's hard to run on. Masters of the Universe movie. And those will be obviously coming. I definitely will be covering those as they come out, how I feel about them. Until that point, I will see you guys later. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. And thank you for watching and listening as always. Bye, guys.